Why would you settle down on your gut bacteria when you can make your intestines overflow with them? They'll due to have overactive bowel movements, which result in the most soft stool a human can produce, and that is basically feces water that has been browned out by what was otherwise going to solidify as a hardened clump of shit. That could absolutely result in rupturing your anus when the bar of crap succeeds its normal size and grows bigger than your shithole is able to withstand, while feces water is actually so soft and runny that you cannot even notice it seeping down from your hole down your leg and in your shoe. Sometimes I am only able to know that I went to the bathroom already when I noticed the inside of my shoes transformed into a human waste swamp with half-digested rotting feces mud going for it. And it's a strange experience, almost like you are going to slip and fall in your shoes. But that's impossible since they are tied in by shoelaces. Oh, I remember it like it was yesterday, where my uncle took me out for fishing one time, and we were having a nice time fishing on the boat. My uncle couldn't entice the fish with just plain regular fish bait. At a certain point, he lost his temper, and he made me grab my Aunt Rosemary Kennedy, her lobotomized piece of severed frontal lobe brain matter that he kept on ice after she had undergone a lobotomy. And my uncle said sarcastically, well, at least the fish are going to be something with the useless piece of brain meat that had organically grown inside her head, but was basically nothing with it. And sure, I would have agreed with you that it is sadistic if only we hadn't won first place by catching the biggest fish from entire contest with. It's so my aunt actually contributed something useful to me as her nephew instead of only shitting herself in the psychiatric institution when we visited. You know, it was about time she offered something up for me as a family contribution that was finally something else than the lobotomized stinky feces I always got to smell for free when we were sitting right in front of her. And I can tell you right now that somebody who makes feces without having access to its full range and activation of all its neurochemicals and biochemistry, the kind of traumatic smell perception, destroying stank coming out of the ass of somebody without a frontal lobe is beyond harrowing. My father really needed to overpower me when we were back at home. He caught me trying to destroy my sinuses and smell receptors by crushing glass into fine powder and snorting it up thereafter I had smelled the traumatic stench lobotomized excrement can produce, because it has no frontal lobe byproducts in it to make human feces not stink like divine rot. You know, I've been clean for about 2 years right now, but if perhaps you have some dry streptococcus lying around for me to snort up my nose, it would be appreciated. You absolutely don't realize how bad I desire some bacteria teeth in my organ meat, my friend. All that healthy pink skin and fully healthy regenerated body parts I've got going for me is too change of contrast I'm used to. So please help me in getting a necrosis buzz going for me, my friend.
As the security advisor, I could never do my job properly because I needed to get the entire staff room away from President Trump's his decaying breath. And it was almost like you were in the room with a Frankenstein monster that basically was exhaling pure pressurized decomposition gas from being put together from all the body parts of people that have died, and the organic materials they were made from were decomposing as fast as a smelly cat that is drowned in a puddle of sour milk and has floating on it as a corpse 4 weeks. So that's basically the Trump experience in the cabinet with the doors closed. So basically a typical day for me was usually one where I could not start doing my job and advise anything about safety because I needed to skip advising and preemptively shield everybody from surviving the president. His cabinet meeting now, the White House has a lot of rooms with windows that have a lot of vent capacity. But the architect of the White House had not taken into account that a future man like the likes of a certain Donald J. Trump would occupy the inside of its walls, addressing people with a visible green cloud emanating stench that is so unthinkable that you would come up with something as complicated as the Manhattan Project before you would be able to grasp Trump breath, but when the White House was designed. But when the White House was designed, nobody could ever have known about how bad the dynamics of oral hygiene would be able to get, because dentistry is a relatively moderate new scientific field of study and practice that only now tells us a lot about orange gum disease that has been saturated with oral bacteria that has undergone discoloration in the highest degree. But you know, all that aside, I have to give it to him that how he still managed to produce those Hulk like green clouds out of an orange-colored container is beyond me. Even mosquitoes need a carbon dioxide spectrum to see the actual gas escaping our mouth when we exhale. But the green clouds coming from the rotten chunks of food he never cleaned out of his teeth are easily visible with the naked eye. If he was a Native American, he could probably use it as a long-distance communication device, like making smoke signals. Did you know Donald Trump gets aroused by unwinded grandfather clocks and children toys? He really does. I've walked in on him violating a music box that plays jingles when you wind it up. I saw him thrusting his penis in dirty, bloody, used maxi pads. He retrieves from the trash bins of unsuspecting girls who use the restrooms in his Trump Tower. He collects them as Pokemon cards, he says. The amount of stars a maxi pad has, according to him, will depend on the level of saturated estrogen blood.